record this computer because it was recorded to the cloud instead of recorded to my computer. There we go.
All right. By the way, I think I don't know if there's one plan, but I think we need to hold another meeting because there were a bunch of people weren't
Yes.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we hold another.
Okay. And you got my email about just curious about the press release. I came across what you
Yeah.
nicely did last year, that nice newsletter just on the paddle.
Yeah, we can do something like that. I think that makes sense. Something that explains it in depth. I mean, we need to talk about the floating lab in more detail, all the stuff we're working on there. And then if Tri-State Trails people are joining us, that's its own story.
Sure.
Um, yeah, we can do that. I was actually working on the press release with Jess just a day or two ago. We're going to get
Good.
at least a first one out this week. Um,
Dynamite.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Just make sure you include Adventure Crew as you did on the line. I mean, on the website. That's great.
yeah, we're ordering all the stuff this week too, or at least in the next day or so.
All right.
Um, yeah, Jason with Cora is great.
Reezer.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
hilarious.
yeah.
Um, yeah. And we just had a great time here with Wade too. Everyone and had breakfast again with Mark
Right.
Allen.
Good.
Yeah.
Is Will Weber there?
No, he's not. I did meet Laurie Van Hook though for the first time.
Oh, good.
She's great too. Yeah.
All right, Dynamite. So why don't you start opening things up and I'll welcome people and turn it over to you to go through the reports and think about, what you want to encourage people to put in the chat. Obviously, I'll make sure they put their names and all that in chat, but let's try to make this as interactive as possible. All right.
Okay, perfect. And I'll let you get people going. Let me see. I which one is me? There
Rick
are
is far
two.
as Clevenger today.
Yeah,
Hi,
I'm
Rick.
gonna fix that.
Hey,
How
my
you
name
doing,
is
buddy?
Forrest.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick. There we go. That's fixed.
Hey, Rick, thanks
I,
so much for being on this little panel here. Apparently, one of our panelists, Austin
Austin Woods.
Woods from Aurora, is at a conference and has terrible internet connection, so he won't be on it. So it'll be the three of you guys. Okay, well, that's great. And Francis is Forrest too.
I'll fix that too.
And Lynn's on, Dave Schmidt, Bill, good to see you. Dave Hudson. Whoa, wonderful.
Forrest, I can fix me.
Okay.
I'm
And Nancy, wonderful to have you from Aurora. Great. Hey, Nancy, apparently Austin is at a conference and has bad connections. Um, hey, Forrest, Nancy Turner is with Main Street Aurora.
Okay.
Nancy, can you go off mute so we can ask you a quick question? Maybe she's not hearing us. All right. Haley, thank you for joining us. Great to have you. Mayor Cleaves, wow. And Mayor Eastwood is on the call. Wonderful to have you, Mayor. Sounds like he's connecting to audio. All right. Jim Bishop from Indiana Trails. Good to have you, Jim. Although maybe you couldn't hear me.
Perfect.
Well, we have Dave Schmidt with the Mill Creek Alliance. Thank you, Dave. Wonderful. All right. Jamie, thank you. And Rachel Toney is here with Orsanko. She's amazing. And Paul Worley, the Economic Development Director for Adams County. Paul, good to have you there, buddy.
Morning,
It's
Brewster.
hard to keep up with everybody here. Thank you, Paul. All right. People are getting here step by step. Hey, Paul, how did you guys do with the flood in Manchester?
We had some moderate, getting up close to the main street there in Manchester, but I don't think there was any, the heavier rain all happened further towards
Yeah.
Cincinnati. So, we were fortunate there wasn't any severe damage.
Oh, that's great. Okay, thank you. Dynamite. Nancy, Nancy
Can you hear
Turner?
me? Can
Yeah,
you
I
hear
can
me
hear you.
now?
Yeah, I just want to let you know that Austin is at a conference
Right.
and doesn't have good reception. So if there's anything you'd like to chip in from Aurora, I understand you guys just kicked butt over the weekend. Huh?
They did. I just could not believe the amount of volunteers that were here last Saturday. It
Well,
was talk about looking like a bunch of little ants down there in Lesko Park. There were so many volunteers. The National Guard was here. A group called Masters of Disaster were here. I know that the food truck fed 309 people.
Whoa.
But the devastation at Lesko Park with all of the um, trees and debris that was down there was horrible. If you can hang on, somebody's trying to get in my door and they're trying to move some
No
things
problem
out
here. We'll talk to you
for
later.
another
Just
county.
chip in when it's appropriate. Thank you very much. I see we have Chris Shack on the line. That's great. Wonderful. So, folks, as you come into the meeting, Kelly Rudolph of American Canoe Association, great to have you, Kelly, and Mary Feldkamp, who's working so hard on our paddle. Megan, good to have you. Nate, wow. Portsmouth's in the house. Dynamite. Nick Hart, thank you for joining us. If you could put your name and organizational affiliation in the chat, that'd be great. So everybody else knows who's in the house, your name and organizational affiliation. Dynamite. Rhonda, thank you for joining us. Great. Wow, we got so many people coming in. Hard to keep up with everybody, but thank you, folks. Steve Walker, great. Susan Griffin Ward, wow. Kentucky Watershed Alliance is in town in the house. And Caroline, thank you for joining us. And yeah, I can't keep up with all these people coming in. So please put your name and organization affiliation, folks, in the chat. And we'll get going in just 1 minute. So thank you so much for your patience. See that Francis Manone is on. David Rutter with OKI. Thank you very much. Great. Catfish. Cool. Hey, Brian. Wonderful to have you here with us from in charge of the Licking River Watershed. Dynamite. Let's see who else. Linda Fester. We got Higginsport, Ohio in the house. Very cool. So please put your name and organizational affiliation there, folks, in the chat. That'd be dynamite. Okay. Nia Rivers on our board from a Division of Water from the state of Kentucky. Thank you, Nia. Always good to have you. So again, name and organization affiliation, Alan Hurst. So we have Mr. Trails for Indiana in the house. Thank you very much, Alan. It's always good to have you with us. Chris Klingman from Shiloh from the from the Park District in Claremont County. Thanks for coming your way, Chris, for the paddle. Okay. And Claire, good to have you. Thank you very much. All right, folks. We have a busy agenda today, a lot to do. So please put your name and organization affiliation in the chat. Jim, it's always good to have Southern Indiana tourism in the house. Thank you very much, Jim. So everybody knows who is here. We have a packed agenda and we'll get going right now. So Forrest, I'd like to turn it over to you, our executive director, who is, where are you now, Forrest? Let us know.
I am currently up at the International Trails Summit in Madison, Wisconsin. I've been up here with Francis from our team, and we have had just a great few days talking with experts in trail planning, trail funding, and trail building. I mean, people that physically get out and do it as well. It's been very, very rewarding. But excited to be here with you all today, and also excited for us to have a productive conversation today about the recovery from the flooding. For that, though, per usual, we would like to have around the first half of our meeting, probably the first 15, 20 minutes, include some updates from the Ohio River Way. And from there, we would like to go ahead into that discussion of flooding with our guest speakers today, and also would love to hear stories from any of you all, any advice, and any other lessons learned from the recovery over the past week. So to kick things off, I'd like to pass it over to Mary Feldkamp, who is our challenge coordinator for this year, to talk about the challenge at the start of next month.
Yeah, thanks, Forrest. Hi, everyone. My name's Mary. I think I met, or I guess not met, but talked to a few of you a couple months ago on another one of these coalition meetings. But as Forrest said, I'm the challenge coordinator for this year. So I've been working out many of the campsites and our meal plan and talking with participants. So I think many of you I've talked with, and thank you for that. It's been great. And so I wanted to go ahead and share our float plan with you guys, just so you can see, where we're going to be stopping each day, the amazing communities that are hosting us, and where we'll be eating, and things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and share that so you guys can see kind of what our trip is going to look like this year. So yeah, this is our official float plan as of today. So you can see each stop will start out in Ironton and Ashland, kick things off with a dinner there that night on May 4th. We'll be going to Patty's and Pints. And then the next day we leave at dawn. Each day we leave at dawn. We'll be going out early and traveling through each of these different communities along the river. We'll be doing different research as we go along. So this year we have something called the Restore Lab, was which is ran by Ella Swigler, who's not on the call today, but she's organized an amazing research lab that we'll have on a houseboat this year. So we'll be doing water quality monitoring and litter monitoring and lots of amazing things there. We'll be doing photography. So each day we'll be running through that and stopping through, again, each of these lovely towns and eating at all these different restaurants. And yeah, I just would love, hopefully you guys can all see this. I forgot to ask that before.
Yeah.
You can see this? Okay, awesome.
Yes, and we will also send out this float plan to everybody in the coming days. We share this because we would love for you to join us when we're in towns, when we just land, when we're at meals. Love for you to be there. If you would like to stop by and see the floating lab and the water quality testing there and all of that, please do. And you're welcome to email us at challenge@ohioriverway.org or anyone on our team, and we can get you connected with the right time and place and logistics to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing to note that's not exactly on the schedule is recently I had a meeting with Orsenko and Ella, our Restore Lab team leader, and we'll also be doing some environmental education programs each day off the water. So if anyone is interested in joining those will likely happen each day. We're still figuring out some of those logistics. But they'll have a program ran by some of the education professionals or research professionals with our Orsenko. So that will also be a fun opportunity to join if you're interested.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mary. I think that covered the important things there. I'll also flag we are very grateful to all of our sponsors that are helping make the challenge possible this year. Financially, we have had supporting sponsors from Interact for Health, the MSD of Cincinnati, North American Stainless, the Kentucky Pipe Trades Union, as well as support from the MSD of Louisville. We're greatly appreciative also of Adventure Crew, who's supporting this. Louisville Metro Parks and Recreation is contributing the time of Ellis Swigler to organize that lab, as well as our meal sponsors in our towns, including like Rising Sun, Shack's Yaks is cooking a meal for us. Grateful to Tour Oldham. Hope I'm not forgetting everyone there. We're going to put together a final sponsor list in the next day or so as we print all our banners and stuff. But thank you to everyone that has chipped in to make the challenge possible. Perfect.
Sorry,
Are there any questions? What was that?
I said, sorry, I was a little late.
No, we're glad you can join, Catherine. Perfect. Wonderful. Moving on from the challenge. Francis, if you're on, could you provide a quick update on where we're at with that plan?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm also with Forest up in Madison, Wisconsin, and let's see, they claim that they are the prettiest Big Ten campus out there. So I don't know if IU has an opinion about that, maybe Columbus, but they might be right. It is really nice up here. So we can debate that later. So for those of you who have been around with us for a while, we during some planning early on in sort of the early 20s, the beginning of the pandemic, we're talking quite a bit about the braided trail aspect of the sort of features of the Ohio Valley and the ways in which people can engage, which is, not everybody's going to want to get in a kayak, but somebody might get on a bike, somebody might even get on a horse and ride along the river and have a engagement with the river that is not something that others would do. And so we refer to that as the braided trail network along the Ohio River. So in this time of questionable federal funding, of where priorities are coming from the federal government and that sort of thing, we are going to take the opportunity to dig in a little bit further. We've been making great strides on our water aspects in recent years with regards to being very close to designations and things like that, but shifting focus a little bit to what's on land. And so we are in the process of doing an analysis, or we're in the process of formulating what that might look like. There are a lot of the things where we would start is, we know there are a lot of communities, states, counties that already have plans that have been floated, in years past. And so what we would start with is collecting all of those plans, and getting a baseline as to what state they're in, how old are they, how finished are they, et cetera. Because they weren't all done by the same person, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to try and figure out where we are with the amount of information that's already out there. And there is quite a bit, because lots of you have been working on your plans for your waterfronts. And most often they can include walking paths and trails and that sort of thing. And then the next step would be to determine what size and scope we tackle this in, because the next question that very next issue we run across is, how big of a plan are we talking about? Because we're such a big region, that's great, but maybe we'll have to thoughtfully divide us into regions and utilize our partners in a manner that's going to be sort of a partnered approach to perhaps the western stretch and then the eastern stretch. All wet paint on that. If anyone has any opinions, happy to hear it. But Forrest and I haven't completely confirmed this, but this might look like an ad hoc committee initially, just to run down those basic questions on how would we approach that, and to work on collecting the data that we know that already exists. So if people are interested in that, get in touch with Forrest, and you'll be hearing more about that into the future. That is a renewed area of focus for the organization.
Yes. Thank you, Francis. I think the only thing I might add, and it's not final, but yesterday we were up here having kind of some conversations with Tri-State Trails, a Cincinnati-based trail-based planning and organization. And it looks like one or two of members of their team might come cycle the entire Ohio River Way during the challenge as a first step in this planning process. So that's not final, but I'm very, very hopeful that when we come through your community and the challenge, we'll also have a cyclist or two with us, seeing what routes work and what needs to get done. Perfect. All right. Next on the list is our travel guide. As you likely know, we are publishing another travel guide this year. It has grown to 68 pages. We are finalizing the number of copies. It's not final because the ad revenue is paying for the copies. But it's going to be more than 80,000 copies at the very least. It's going to be at state parks throughout Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. It's 37 in Indiana, 20 to 25 in Kentucky, and we don't have the number confirmed in Ohio, but I could see this easily being in 80 to 100 state parks. It's also going to be at 7 interstate welcome centers in Indiana, 7 in Kentucky, and 5 in Ohio. We are also going to blitz our corridor with copies of it. We've had already about 40 folks request copies of it during the challenge. I will be driving a 15-foot box truck with 2 tons of it. So what I would ask now is, if you would like some copies of the travel guide, please do put it in the chat. And I will go ahead now and just tease what this will look like. It's
When
not
will
final.
that be out for us? When's the?
I will be picking up the first copies on May 3rd, and it will ship to our locations shortly after that.
Great.
But so
yeah.
Early May.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. So I guess Renew Richmond will be there on, I believe that's May 9th, right?
Yes. Well, that's
Yes.
the Appalachian Festival as well.
Well, no, they come through on the 9th.
Yeah, you come through on the 9th and the weekend of the Appalachian Festival.
Perfect. Well, we'll have plenty
Mary.
of copies for you. Good deal. And what I'm showing might be a bit different in the final version. Here is the draft cover that we are working with this year. We had our cover map and some of the icons throughout it made by an artist named Kelsey Voss. She also made our previous Ohio Riverway poster. So very excited about it. I think she did a fabulous job. Here is what that map looks like. It is a stylized map of our region. It is not meant to be perfectly geographically accurate. It is supposed to create the vibes of a destination rich region. So you might see something representative of your community there. You might see stuff that is more general and applicable there. But we were again very excited what she pulled together here. It's a bit different direction for us because in the past we've done geographically accurate maps with just all the names of the cities. Here we wanted to go for vibes. And here as well as an example of what our pages look like. So this is the paddling section. Again, the final version is slightly different, but it will look like this. Yeah. So again, 68 pages. About 60% of that is content, about 40% is ads. Thank you to everyone that purchased ads because that is what is making all of this possible. And don't believe she can speak, but again, all of this is made possible because of the incredible work of Jessica Baltherzen with our team. Jess, are you on today? I know you're on the road.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. I'm sorry. What have I missed?
No, I don't think you've missed anything. I think you've covered it all. And yeah, we're super excited for this edition. And thanks to all of you that I've reached out to and that you've helped me create this content as well.
Perfect. Perfect. And again, I mean, cannot thank you, Jess, enough for all you have done to make this possible. When you read the guide, you were reading what Jess has written, about 90% of it. She pulled together all the contents, worked with the publisher on all of this. So just thank you. But again, drop it in the chat or email us if you would like some copies. Sophie is here and watching the chat for anybody that puts that in there. We would love to get you some copies. I do not want to end up with extra in the end. Wonderful. And let me see. Our final thing, final two things I'd want to add. We are continuing our strategic planning. Thank you to everybody that filled out the strategic planning survey. I believe we had around 50 respondents to that, and your thoughtful feedback is so incredibly helpful. I expect we are continuing this process with our board. We will engage the coalition more. That might be a specific strategic planning meeting that is separate from the coalition that you're all invited to, or we might just take some time in a coalition meeting to address that. That'll be later on in the year, and I expect we'll finalize that plan by the end of the year. It might be October or December, but we'll keep you in the loop there. Thank you again for all of your incredible feedback. The last thing I will additionally share, I'm very excited about this. We have finalized the plans for our summit this year. So it's going to be October 16th through the 18th in Louisville, Kentucky. It is a special joint summit hosted in partnership with the Ohio River Basin Alliance, the Kentucky Waterways Alliance, and the University of Louisville Envirom Institute. So we have taken, Envirom doesn't have annual summits, but KWA, ORWA, and the Ohio Riverway have summits. And we've just said we're going to do them all at the same place at the same time. And it coincides with the introduction of federal legislation to restore the Ohio River Basin. This is a huge multi-$100 million, potentially multi-billion dollar initiative modeled after the Great Lakes Initiative that would be transformative for our corridor. It would fund clean water, habitat restoration, workforce development, flood mitigation, and public recreational access. But beyond that, we'll have all our regular and great programming. You're just also going to see more people related to the Ohio River and all things Ohio River there. We would love to have exhibitors this year as well. We are going to have a 30,000 square foot exhibit hall. We are working to have some really cool, special, big stuff there. We've been talking with Rick Jansen, who you're going to hear more from in a bit, about having this new cleanup barge there because we have the space for exhibits like that. But in any case, please do put it on your calendars, October 16th through the 18th. If you can only make one day, come the 17th, but it's all going to be incredible. Perfect. And with that, I believe I've covered all the stuff we had on our agenda. Brewster, is there anything big I'm forgetting before we segue into our next bit?
Well, just another thing is, of course, Orsanco annually, as you know, promotes river cleanups up and down the Ohio and are doing so again this year. And it'd be wonderful if everybody could put in the chat if your community already has a cleanup schedule. Please put that information in the chat. I know that Rachel Toney is here, who's doing an amazing job with Orsanco coordinating cleanups up and down the Ohio.
Yeah.
And they'll
Rachel,
provide, yeah, Rachel can
Rachel,
speak right now.
could you introduce yourself on this and drop your email in the chat?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the Ohio River Sweep Coordinator at Orsanco. So I know there's
Is there a way to make that a little louder, Rachel? We can barely hear you. I'm sorry. Maybe not.
I doubt it, honestly, unless I get a little closer. Can you hear me better
Turn
now?
up your volume, everybody.
So I'm the Ohio River Sweep Coordinator at Orsanco. And we have lots of cleanups that are happening over the next month. But if you would like to host your own, you can sign up on our website and I'll put it in the chat as well, since the volume isn't working super great right now.
Perfect. Good deal. Thank you so much, Rachel. Wonderful. And I think we are ready to go ahead and segue into our speakers, as well as our group discussion. And Brewster set this up today. Brewster, can you introduce our speakers as we get started?
Yeah, well, first of all, we just thought, hey, listen, all of us up and down the river went through a very big and challenging event recently, of course, with this flood. That was the highest, at least in Cincinnati and other places, since the 97 flood, just a little bit higher than the 18 flood. And it affected a lot of communities, some more than others, of course. And we thought it would be helpful to everybody to hear frontline reports from people who are city managers, coordinators of cleanup work, elected officials, about what their experiences were and what lessons perhaps could be drawn for next time, and also what they saw and learned about the spirit of their communities, how folks came together to help each other out, which is a very special part of the Ohio River way of life as we talk about it. So today we have Rick Jansen, who is the director of the Lawrence-Scioto County Solid Waste Management District and a great friend of the Ohio River Way. And Rick has a unique angle on this, given his work to secure a grant to buy a barge that cleans up a 30-foot boat that can be trailered, that cleans up debris. So we're looking forward to hearing from Rick. He's in Ironton and works as well with folks in Portsmouth upriver. Then we have Catherine Bailey, who is the village manager for the village of New Richmond, and she's a fireball. We love working with Catherine, and they just went through a hell of an experience, and they're still dealing with it, but they're coming out smelling great. And then my friend Hamilton County Commissioner Denise Driehaus for the county that includes Cincinnati, of course. She's the president of the Board of County Commissioners, and she'll be with us in a moment. She had another meeting. She'll be joining us shortly. But she's been the point person for a lot of the cleanup work that they've been doing. And then we had Austin Woods scheduled to join us, who was the city manager for the city of Aurora, Indiana. He's at a conference, it turns out, and he has terrible internet connection, so he's not going to actually be on the call. But Nancy Turner, who is the executive director of the Main Streets organization for the city of Aurora, can share briefly what's going on in Aurora. They had an amazing turnout this past weekend for cleanup. So why don't we begin, Rick? Why don't we go from upriver, downriver? And we just like each of you to share briefly your experiences, and then we can have a roundtable discussion. So introduce yourself, Rick, and take it away.
Okay, I'm Rick Jansen with the Ironton area, but it's Lawrence and Scioto County Solid Waste District. And 2 points I want to kick off before we get into our discussion is one is a recognition of the folks on the wonderful waterfronts project the governor and the ACGP money has committed to these projects, and specifically our friends at the Ironton Lawrence Community Action Organization, they have been doing just a masterful job on managing all these projects, and the impact of our riverfronts is going to be felt for generations. So you just can't say enough good about those people, and the amount of work they're putting in is just amazing. So congratulations to Ironton Lawrence CAO and the whole wonderful waterfronts team that's making all this happen. So good job, CAO. Another person that we need to get bought in, not that he's not bought in, but more into the fray, is David Lavender from the Huntington area. He is a big time influencer in the tri-state area, and he can definitely be a great asset to the Ohio Riverway, and his impact is felt around the region. So, Dave, we'd love to have you be really deeply involved. So, going to the subject of the riverfront cleanups and the flooding and all these issues we went through here for the last almost 3 weeks now, is making sure that every community is in conversation with their emergency management agency. Have those discussions about debris management and planning prior to an event. A lot of this large woody debris gets hooked up and bound up in ditch lines and culverts in waterways, and it really has a impact on the flow of the waters. So, keeping ditch lines clean prior to the weather event has got to be everybody's responsibility. And when you see stuff getting wedged in, especially culverts, large woody debris, find a way to get somebody to get them out of there. Have a place to put them. One thing that I've always talking about is after the event is over, don't push all this material back into the waterways, which I've seen, and I'm certain everybody along the Ohio River has seen. Let's all take it as a personal challenge that we're going to get this material out of any type of waterways. And, that'll have a huge impact on water flow. These floods come and the heavy waters come every once in a while, but being prepared prior to it is really the key. Keep in mind that everything that is on dry land, trash, plastic bags, bottles, woody debris, all that stuff eventually flows into the water, and that starts creating dams. We have enough challenges with the beavers and everything else creating these challenges. So man-made influences we're responsible for as a community. So let's everybody do our part to make sure we're clean prior to these events happening. Yeah, they do happen, but it has to be top of mind. It has to be something we're aware of. And eventually we're going to get caught in a situation like we did a few weeks ago where if it would have been a little cleaner system, if some of this large woody debris would have been out of the water flowways, this impact could have been less. And, communicating with your engineering people and all the different departments, make sure the roadways are kept up as far as debris. That could have a huge impact. We've seen a great deal of community building, even though it was a really bad situation. We had seen so many different people pulling together and helping each other out. And, it's just a really kind of a neat thing to be involved with. So the barge that we have will be available for others to use. It'll be on a weekend, call, let's get it set up. When these waters come up like they have in that fast moving water flow and lots of debris flowing down, we're not necessarily going to be taking it out in those conditions. We want to go when it's in a little bit more normal flows, and we want to try to get the material out prior to it becoming an issue. And we definitely don't want anybody getting hurt out there. So the boat is right at 20,000 pounds. So places we go to, we are going to want it to be with a gentle transition on the boat launch. It can't be real steep. This thing is incredibly heavy, and unless I get a semi, it'll pull everything right down in the river with us. So when we come to a community, we want to make sure we get into the most friendly boat ramp in the area. But it is available for everybody to use, and you'll see it October 16th through the 18th in Louisville, and maybe it'll be in your community prior to that. So just reach out to me, and let's try to get something set up.
Hey, Rick, could you put your name and email address in the chat so that people can reach out to you? And also, can you briefly describe where you got this debris removing barge? Where'd that come from?
It's a company up in northern Minnesota called Elite Industries. It has a crane on the front of it that'll lift. The crane itself will reach up to 48 feet in the air. And it's just an incredible piece. It has side floats that roll over on hydraulics and lock in. It goes from 8.5 feet wide to 12.5 feet wide. I see Dr. Storrs just put a comment in there regarding the banks. And yes, there needs to be protection of the banks. We don't want to be ripping out stuff that is permanently holding a bank together. And hopefully he can join in that conversation, because we don't want additional erosion from the banks of the river itself. So
gotcha. But Rick, let me mention, you got a grant, correct, from the H2O program of the state of Ohio, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The state of Ohio partnered with us. They believe in it, and they gave us a few $100,000 to go out and purchase this piece of equipment. And we want to make it available to as many people as possible. And we'd love to see additional communities get this. So we're sort of the test market on this, and I would like to see at least 3 of them in this area, because to think we're going to have the ability to clean, 500 miles of river with one boat is kind of crazy, especially after years and years of a lot of
Gotcha. Well, listen, buddy, thank you very, very much. It's incredible that you put together the application, got the funding, acquired the boat, and what you're saying to everybody is you want to make this available to other communities that have needs, and so they should be in touch with you to work that out, correct?
Correct. And if there's, other barge companies out there, maybe there might be an opportunity to work with some of those folks. And the big thing is making sure that we're not doing more damage than we are repairs. When we're pulling out a sunken motorcycle or a sunken car, are we better off leaving that in the waterways versus pulling it up and having all the PCBs going flowing again? Or, those type of things are where we need to kind of go back to the experts and see, hey, does this make sense to do this or not?
Sure. Gotcha. Okay, great, buddy. Thank you very, very much. We'll come back to you, but I'd like to move on to Catherine Bailey, Village Manager for New Richmond. Catherine, take it away.
Great. Well, Rick, I want to first say thank you to Rick Jansen. I spent a wonderful day with him down there, learned all about the barge and what he does, as well as his environmental support and concern for the Ohio River and all the rivers. So great job, Rick. So I'm Catherine Bailey. I'm the village administrator for New Richmond, Ohio. We were recently impacted by the flood. We had a large flood impact. 98 of our homes were impacted by the Ohio River flooding. We had to evacuate all of our RV parks and so forth. I do think we've had at least 2 homes that were destroyed due to the flood. But the things I've learned and want to share with everyone, and Rick had already talked about not putting debris back and so forth. We don't do any of that. So we take it out, we put it into landfills or into our own dumps, or we manage it internally, but we don't put anything back into the river. Last year, we took off 98 loads off the river banks to make sure they didn't go into the river. So, but as far as the flood goes, I think the number one thing that we learned as a team here was communication. Something that we did differently. We got involved at night and day, literally, here at the office, and we contacted every resident that of the 98, we contacted 90 of those residents or businesses to make sure they knew we were here. We made sure we knew what their needs were, and then we facilitated with our emergency management we had a big command center up at the high school, and we had almost 12 or 13 volunteer groups that came. So we made sure to communicate to all the residents that those folks were out there. And it's one thing to communicate, but you got to follow up, because what we found is the volunteer companies or groups would say they would be going to these places, but then they wouldn't go that particular day, and that frustrated residents. So what we did, my circuit clerk and myself and my utility clerk, we kept calling the folks. We made a Google Doc that we managed through the command center that talked about if you didn't have electric, you had water issues, you didn't have gas, whatever it was. I mean, we had some people that just needed a mattress moved that they had put on top of the kitchen table, but they were elderly and couldn't do that. But I think that's how communities really pull together. Duke did a great job helping us and communicating, the Clermont County Building Department, the Emergency Management Command Center, and then all of our streets department, fire department, police department, all the folks in New Richmond. I have just never seen such an amazing effort by everyone to come together. But I think once again, that communication's key. On one night, we had put an email out that anyone that needed help getting their electric back on to show up and get their permits issued. We had, at one time, there were 6 guys standing there in waders and boots filling out paperwork. We were helping them all get in, and we were able to get all the electric and the utilities back on within 48 hours of the flooding event. Our streets department were able to clean the streets and get our restaurants, the first one open back up literally 24 hours after the water receded. We were eating in 2 of our restaurants. And I think it's just amazing because, it's essential. These folks have been, without business for, 5 days, 7 days. And it was very important that we were able to get these places back open, people back in their homes. We did have a shelter and put several people in that as well. So I just think that the most important thing that I can share with everyone is the importance of communication. So that comes with planning, because we had done a pre-list of all of our, it was funny, Brewster, that we had sent out a communication to all the folks that are on our water system to let us know their phone numbers, their emails, and so forth. So we were able to take that list that we didn't know we'd need so quickly, but we were able to take that list and communicate directly to our residents and our businesses. And it was essential because really, other than that, we had no other means to know who they were, who was the landlord, how to contact the tenants and the people that own homes and so forth. So I think that's a real important thing to start doing. Make sure that you have a good contact information, email, phone numbers, and if they want to be text or how they want to be communicated with, and start making that plan and have that in place. We were just lucky that we had already started that, so we utilized that. Myself, there's 3 leaders in the village in New Richmond. That was the fire department, police department, and of course me and the administrative public works. So we all stayed in very close contact. Sometimes we'd talk to each other 10 or 15 times a day. The Duke leadership gave us contact information. The Clermont County Building Department also did. Of course, our commissioners were all down here, including David Painter, our Clermont County Commissioner. So everyone really came together, and the communication was the key to the success of this flood. Because, most of us had not been through a flood. Most of the leadership in the village in New Richmond, and Mary Allen, our great council lady, she pointed that out, that many of us had not even ever been through a flood. Herself and Richard Feldkamp, council member, were the only 2 leaders in town that had been through such a thing. And so it was amazing how we learned quickly, came together, and we're still cleaning up, but we have everyone back in their homes. The electric, gas is back on. We've got a large dumping area, which we're loading into dumpsters. We're filling up 3 to 4 a day still, and we will continue to. So those are really the things I'd like to share with anyone who has communities up and down the river. Prepare your plan, get your communication strategies out, go on and make the list and have the contacts ready. Go on and find out who your utility leaders are, because we had to learn that on the go, and have the command center already in place that where you're going to meet, and then start your strategies and start your planning, because lo and behold, the Ohio River will visit us again. So we had a really amazing experience, even though it's always detrimental to a village of our size. We have 4,000 residents, but we did learn quickly, and we really came out of on the bright side.
Dynamite. Hey, Catherine, thank you so much. And gee, I see you have a very special event coming up shortly on your
Absolutely.
wall.
So, yes. So the flood couldn't have come at a worse time. We were right in the middle of planning our big Appalachian Festival. We were lucky enough to, that board of directors for the Appalachian Festival has gone from Coney Island, which is under all kinds of construction and changes, but they have adopted New Richmond as their new permanent home. That organization has been in existence for 54 years. So now this will be the first year that New Richmond will be their host and their forever home. So we're anticipating anywhere from 20 to 40,000 folks to come and visit us. But while Brewster mentioned that, him included, a lot of you all have promised to come and help me. So I'm ready for those phone calls. Rick, you're one of them. I see the thumbs up. Brewster, you're another one. There's several others on the call that have promised me support. So let those phone calls start at 513-553-4146, extension 15, Catherine Bailey. Forrest, you're not going to get by without calling either. So I expect all of y'all to give me a call.
Great. Thank you, dear. You're wonderful. Well,
No,
we look forward to the festival. Wonderful. And so now I see that my friend Denise Drayhouse, who is the president of the Hamilton County Commission, is with us. And Denise, it's always wonderful to have you. You're not Forrest Clevenger, which is what it shows on your screen there.
Sure enough. Well, I don't know who Forrest is.
Yeah,
There
Forrest
he
is he's our executive director.
right next door to me
but,
on my squares. All right,
he will fix it up for you. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us. You guys went through a lot in Cincinnati. Share with us what your experiences were, and maybe what lessons and what spirit the city had in the county.
Yeah, well, the county and the city obviously worked together to try to figure out how to respond to what was going on with the flood and the banks and all the rest. So, as most of you probably know, the development at the banks, and that's primarily my focus, was built to sustain a flood. And so all of the development is up on risers and the parking garages are beneath and the development is all above. And that was all very intentional. And so the garages did what they were intended to do during a flood, which is the water comes in. The top level of the garage was fine. The bottom levels, though, were flooded to the point where, a car obviously couldn't park down there. And so, and then the parks for the city, the park board controls all that property down on the riverfront. The parks were all completely underwater. Marion Way was completely underwater. And so there was quite a bit of cleanup that needed to happen. But the stadiums did not suffer. The Black Music Walk of Fame suffered just a little bit with one of the kiosks that was closest to the sidewalk, but we did sandbag it, and I think we protected it to the point where hopefully that technology will survive. But it was a huge effort when that water starts to recede, and keeping people out of the area, obviously, and the impact to events down on the riverfront is substantial. And so trying to make sure people understand that there are other parking opportunities other than just the garage there at the banks. But we really didn't cancel anything. The water started to recede. I was down there on, I believe it was Wednesday afternoon, and the water was starting to go down, and the crews were down there power washing. And because what's left behind, is, I'm sure all of you know, is not only mud, but it's this significant debris. There's a lot of wood, there are logs, there are fish, there's other stuff that's left behind. It's big, it needs to be shoveled out. And so our crews were down there doing that, knowing that there was a Reds game on Friday night, which was kind of the goal, trying to get that cleaned out as much as possible so that folks that were coming down had a place to park. So I want to say our crews did a pretty fantastic job. Everything operated as it should. And it reminds us on why it's so important to put everything out of the floodplain down at the banks so that all of the structures and the utilities and all that aren't at risk when we have that kind of flooding.
Well, Commissioner, thank you very much. I appreciate all your leadership and you had a big job to do, but the city's getting and the county's getting back into shape very quickly under your leadership. So, hey, great work.
Thank you. And it was, and can't emphasize enough the collaboration between the city and the county. I mean, I know a lot of people here that we're not getting along. Well, that is simply not the case. And so we did all this work together.
Dynamite.
Thanks for the opportunity, Brewster.
Thank you very much. We may come back to you in a second here. And I'd love to now introduce Nancy Turner. If you could turn your video on, Nancy, that'd be great. But Nancy is Executive Director of Aurora's Main Street program. And so, Nancy, what happened down there in Aurora?
Well, I'd love to turn my video on, but for whatever reason, it's now not working. So I apologize. Fine. You don't need to see me anyway.
No, you're doing great. Thank you.
Catherine, I want to tell you, you're a stitch. To throw out that phone number for people to call to come and help you, you are right on top of it. And
always marketing.
Good for you. She so hit on so many things that we had. We did not have the devastation with home loss or things with housing as much. We had a few apartment buildings that we were able to assist them. We had a wonderful anonymous donation of $1,000 that we were able to put some of our apartment occupants in some motels for a few days. Rick will be glad to know that the state of Indiana, as well as all of our city and county trucks, were here and hauling that huge debris away and not throwing it back in the river. That's been said for so many years. You can't throw it back in the river. So, Rick, you'll be glad to know that we didn't. There were so many supplies that were brought from Lowe's, our local lumber company, the Red Cross, just brooms, buckets, shovels, garbage bags, hygiene products, heater meals. And that's what we've been trying to do in these last couple of days is those donations that were left, sending them on to other people that could utilize those. Sent all the hygiene products yesterday to our local high school, and she's going to share with different school buildings. This morning, our group that takes care of the homeless was coming to get the rest of the heater meals. If you've all not heard of the World Central Kitchen, that was started about 15 years ago. They go across the world feeding people in time of need and time of crisis. They had reached out to the city of Aurora and were here for 2 days serving food to our volunteers. They are wonderful. If they ever reach out to you, they are the bee's knees, as they say, and take advantage of their services, because it was wonderful to have them here to help feed our volunteers and anyone that was looking for food. As I said, it was pretty much, a few apartment buildings down in town, and it did affect about 15 of our businesses that are right along the river. But some of them were able to open by this past weekend, and then others that had a little more devastation, such as the Eagles and the Moose. And one of our restaurants is taking a little longer to get things cleaned up. But we've tried to reach out. We aren't as good as Catherine with her database of name, number, and where we can get a hold of you. That's certainly something. You're right, it was communication. So, and as she said, the river will be back. So we need to work forward to that for the next time.
Nancy.
So I appreciate everybody's work all up and down the river.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that information, Nancy, and give our best to Austin when he gets back from the conference. And
put your contact information in, Nancy. Please.
Oh, see, I'm not as good as you are. My phone number is 812-926-1100. And then the city is 812-926-1777. And then you have to select from the different options. I think Austin might be number 6.
Right. Well, the bottom line is that from what you said and what Austin shared earlier with me yesterday is the spirit of the folks in the community and surrounding areas that came in to provide assistance was just so powerful and moving. And I saw one of the interviews with one of the TV broadcasts about your experience in Aurora. Senior citizen was just he broke down in tears talking about how moved he was by people going the extra mile to be helpful and clean out, whether it was the Elks, I forget one of those locations.
It was the Aurora Lions Club. It was one
Yeah.
of the Aurora Lions Club members. Yeah, I
Well,
saw that interview with Mike breaking down, and it does do that to you.
It was so powerful. That's right. Well, listen, we have a couple of other folks on the line who might be able to chip in. I'm grateful we have two mayors right now with us. Mayor Eastwood from Aberdeen. Mayor, would you like to share anything that happened in your community? I mean, Aberdeen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you, buddy. Thank you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we finished cleaning up. Majority of our cleanup yesterday afternoon, about 7 o'clock. I walked away. We've got a few small things to do that we can manage. We've got City of Maysville's having their 2-bridge run this weekend, so that kind of put a challenge on us because we do use the park for the 5K. So basically no family displacement, thanks to our wonderful planning back in 97 when we turned most of our park into green space. And big key thing, communication, getting right out. It's the fastest I've seen the river come up in 12 hours. It really moved fast, so we worked real hard, but got everybody back into where they needed to be. So
yeah.
Other than that, a lot of debris that we cleaned up and kept out of the river. Had several dumpsters full, so our waste hauler was worked with us real good to keep that empty so we can keep moving forward. And I can't say enough to all my volunteers, my police department, my fire department, and just the residents helping us clean this up. So,
well, thank you.
Anyway,
thank you so much. You know, it's
yes,
interesting your point about you designed that area that used to be more homes, et cetera, in a way that is not flood resistant, but is you adapted it in a way that made it affordable for cleanup and created big public space. And so there was an issue about design. You designed something that was able to handle floods and was able to be quickly cleaned up. So hats off to you. It's a beautiful riverfront you have.
Thank you. And
one of the best boat ramps on the Ohio.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you. And I know that we have Charlie Cleaves, the mayor of Bellevue, Kentucky, on. Mayor, are you still on the call here? And if so, what was your experience? I didn't prepare him for this, so maybe he had to drop off. Mayor Cleaves, are you on? Okay. Well, we can move right along. Is there anybody else who would like to share experiences that they had in their communities? Just jump in. No need to raise your hand. Hey, Brian, how did the Licking River do? If you can go off mute. Somebody else?
Hey, Brewster, I'm here.
Okay, good.
We had some flooding in Falmouth, Kentucky, and Butler, Kentucky, in those areas. But reports from locals on the ground and stuff, they anticipated it to be way worse than it actually was. In other areas that we see kind of regular flooding and stuff, they fared pretty well. But we definitely had the biggest hit that I've been involved with is in Frankfort area on the Kentucky River. We had a lot of flooding in Frankfort. A lot of houses had about 6-7 feet of water in them. So we've been kind of focusing in that area. So they got hit pretty hard there on the Kentucky River. Kentucky River flooded just as bad as the Ohio, if not worse. So, and that's the thing is we're communicating with a lot of those people who live in that community because, as you know, on the Ohio River, also in the Kentucky, we could have a major rainstorm in different basins in the state of Kentucky, and those communities get affected. But when you live along the Kentucky River, their water always ends up in your backyard, in a lot of areas that get big rainstorms. So, they need to kind of understand that for the future.
Gotcha. Well, let's ask anybody from Louisville. I know we have Meredith Meyer with MSD in Louisville. We have Susan uh, Griffin Ward from the Kentucky Waterways Alliance. Anybody else from Louisville area want to report on how things went down there? If so, just jump in. Nate, are you down there too with the Kentucky Waterways Alliance?
I I can speak that Michael King from the director of the Office of Planning in Louisville Metro said he wished he could join us today. I know in Louisville, part of the priority is making sure the city looks good in preparation for Derby, which is that first Saturday in May. And I know we've contracted with an outside firm that also did work in Appalachia after the flooding to help our waterfront. But Susan may know more.
Okay.
Yeah, Louisville, the riverbank in Louisville is the remains of the flood are terrible. River Road has just reopened, and the amount of trash and debris is still pretty incredible, although the road is drivable. And our friends at Waterfront Park had a cleanup this past Saturday. They are waiting to hear from their crews about when they can schedule additional cleanups because they're working with outside contractors in the city, but have promised to share that information once it's available. Kentucky Waterways Alliance had a cleanup scheduled for Harrods Creek at the weekend that the flooding hit, so that was canceled. However, we do have a cleanup this Saturday in honor of Earth Day. It's an annual cleanup that we're doing on Beargrass Creek at Cherokee Park, and that is a tributary of the Ohio, and it has quite a bit of debris also. So if you're in Louisville on Saturday morning, feel free to join us. So,
Great.
And our hearts do go out to all the people across the state that have experienced flooding. It's all the states, but inside Kentucky, so many communities from western to eastern Kentucky were just devastated.
Gotcha. So I know that our colleague Francis Manone, who works with us, was in Aurora. Francis, anything you'd like to briefly share about your experience as a volunteer?
Yeah, thank you. So I had seen my choice was to either go towards New Richmond or over towards Aurora. So I went and lent my muscle in Aurora on Saturday, and I can attest to the fact that it was a well-organized cleanup crew. But I was sitting here thinking, like, being river communities, the river is going to rise and fall no matter what we do. And I think the way communities deal with it every time has lasting impacts to when you see folks like Catherine Bailey out making phone calls, creating lists and that sort of thing. It's an opportunity to further knit the community together instead of letting the river sort of blow it apart as it goes downriver. And that was evidenced in Aurora. And certainly, Catherine, I saw the plea online from the news to get people back in restaurants and communities buying things, come back to town. We're open for business with not just your festival, but on any evening, come on down and have a meal in a riverfront community, because there were lots of communities that were businesses that were closed just unexpectedly for 10 days, 2 weeks, which, as we know, is not good for the bottom line of those businesses. So hopefully we get everybody back. Make a special trip, have a special meal, have a beer in a community along the river.
Communities. Yeah.
Well, folks, we're nearing the end here.
I want to add one thing,
Catherine, yes.
real quick. Just is this important? So because we were only in Ohio, I'm sure it's different in Kentucky and Indiana, but we were only under an emergency declaration because of the size, and it's something that we had never thought about. But because it wasn't declared a federal or state disaster, we are not under any type of reimbursement for our overtime, our cost, our repairs, the 31 dumpster loads that we've taken out so far, with many more to come. So currently, the state has asked, well, not the state, but the county has asked me to put together a cost estimate, because you have to hit either $984,000 in losses and costs, or 25 homes have to receive substantial damage or be destroyed. These are things we're learning as we go, but we're under a heavy loss for just New Richmond alone, and the other communities in Ohio. that we will not be reimbursed at this time. So that's a learning thing that we've had to learn and be aware of. So that's going to be a heavy hit on us, Forrest and Brewster.
Well,
Hey, can I comment on that real quick, Brewster?
Yes, please, Denise. Yes.
Sorry, Denise Treehouse. So Nick Crosley, our emergency management agency lead, is collecting all of that information from all of the communities. And so if we hit the threshold, then we do get some reimbursement.
Yeah,
But if
I've
we
got
don't,
mine ready to submit tomorrow. So
yeah, so he's doing a nice job of coordinating that. We've done this previously during flooding events in particular, and in some cases we hit it, in some cases we don't. But Nick is trying to, and the more communities that participate in that equation, obviously the higher that number goes and the more likely it is that we get reimbursed. So I would encourage anybody that's associated with that on the call to please respond to Nick Crosley or reach out to him and get on that list, because we are hoping that we will get some reimbursement.
Denise, do I have his contact information? I've got my report ready, but
I don't know, but his name is Nick Crosley. He's with the Emergency Management Agency in Hamilton County. You can find him on our website.
We're Claremont, but thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, folks. This is wonderful. Denise, Catherine, Rick, thank you so much. Nancy, for stepping in here, and for others who chipped in, Mary Eastwood. And I think it's just an example of one of the things we can do as an organization, is sharing best practices up and down the river. We're all facing similar challenges, and if we each share what works well in our communities and what we learned that can be applied next time when it comes to flooding, but also when it comes to promoting tourism and when it comes to promoting recreation, comes from promoting development of green space, parks, and other conservancy operations. I think this is an example of what we can do as a collective entity to promote the Ohio River for all it has to offer, not only us here, but folks from throughout the country, for that matter. Okay, I should just mention, by the way, that we had, I'm so grateful we had over 30 communities represented on this call. We had 6 elected officials, including 2 mayors and some city council members, and of course, county commissioner Denise Treehouse. We had 5 state agencies. So we had ODNR and Kentucky Division of Water and other entities that are statewide operations. We had 7 park districts and conservancies. We had 9 tourism bureaus. So it's a nice, and we had 8 economic development entities, or people whose lead role is economic development in their communities, including Paul Worley from Adams County, Economic Development Director for the county. Paul, good to have you with us. So anyway, this is what we try to do on a monthly basis, to bring folks together, to have a common dialogue about things that unite us, and ways we can all work together to promote what we love, which is basically the Ohio River way of life that draws us all together. All right, folks. Forrest, thank you very much. Any final words, Forrest?
You said all of it perfectly, Brewster.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. I'll give you a raise. Right.
Yeah, perfect. I'll take it. We'll be sticking on as always. If folks would like to keep chatting, but otherwise, thank you all so much, and we'll see you next month.
Great. We'll have another 15 minutes of water cooler discussion. And you guys can buy me a beer later on. That's great. So thank you very much, folks. You're welcome to stay on if you have any additional dialogue to share and comments or questions. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next month. And we'll see you during the challenge coming through your town.
Call Catherine.
All right, dear. So how's it looking for the festival? Looking good. Huh?
Of course, we're 2 weeks behind, but we had the board meeting last night, and of course, we need about 30 more volunteers. We've got 60 or so in place, and everything's getting cleaned up. But it's going to be a great time. We're going to roll out the red carpet for them, and we're going to show everyone that comes a great time.
Okay, so everybody, are you suggesting everybody ought to come to New Richmond for the Appalachian Festival?
100%. And those that know you need to call me to come help volunteer, I'll expect a call this week.
Okay.
Good deal. Good deal. Hello, David Rutter. How are you doing?
Hey, if I could also emphasize, I see that Greg Dale, who's my good friend, and also the person managing our strategic planning process for the Ohio River Way. Forrest sent out yesterday to everybody an email about today's meeting that included a link to a survey that we would be grateful if you haven't already filled it out, that you do. It'll probably take you 5-8 minutes, but it provides invaluable feedback for us as we do an update of our strategic plan. So please take advantage of that. It's in yesterday's email from Forrest, right?
Yep. We've got about 50 people so far. We're very grateful for all that.
Yeah, it'd be great
Thanks
to
for
get
that
up
plug,
to.
Brewster.
Pardon?
So thanks for that plug.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, maybe you can just put it in the chat right now, for those who haven't had a chance to do it. Like, I don't know if Julie Donna has done it yet. So, Julie, you're going to fill it out for us? What do you think? Lester, I'm sorry I didn't see you on the call. Thank you very much. Higginsport, big time, is in the house. In addition to Linda, thank you for joining us. What was your experience, Mayor, up there in Higginsport with the flood?
We got pretty lucky. We didn't have a whole lot of damage to the residents. It was just mainly cleanup. And as you know, we've got a great support group here. So, we jumped in and knocked it out when it was done.
All right. All right. Well, Higginsport is embarking on a pretty big park development project that's just going to be outstanding. It'll be a center of attraction for the entire county. So very cool. Hey, Dave Lavender, I see you're still on the call there, my man. So what's going on in Huntington? How did you guys do?
Pretty much skated by, pretty much unscathed. So luckily, but did have to put up the flood walls, the gates and stuff. But
yeah,
just kind of minimal damage though. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, a lot of other communities weren't as lucky. So
Yeah.
so definitely hurting for everybody else because we're all in this together. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, Nate, how did Portsmouth do?
I think we did all right. I don't think there was much to really report on throughout here. I'll just say that the flood wall did its job. I read an article about, like, I guess the floods over in Cincinnati were about that 1937 magnitude. And so, it made me think, well, our wall was built in that fashion, 1937 after that flood, and it held steady. So
great. Good job. Well, we look forward to seeing you there, buddy. We'll be up through your town on the 5th. We'll be arriving on the 5th, even the 6th, right? I think.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, just keep me in the loop. And like I mentioned in the chat, I'll take some of those guides.
Perfect. Well, we will have plenty for you. It looks like Sean Dunn is going to host us down at the riverfront with a little barbecue. So we hope we see you there.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah. Maybe a free beer. Who knows?
Is it a Forrest Brewster? Like, I was thinking about, like, my schedule's too busy. I can't do the whole thing, but I wouldn't mind to do like a day or two. Is that possible? Like, I mean, if I just brought my own canoe and kind of like went along, like, I wasn't sure insurance wise and all that shit. So
you could bring your own canoe. We treat you as an independent paddler, though I will say the Voyager canoes go faster. So
right.
So we'd see you at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, but the Voyager canoes would pull away and head on downriver.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So you'd be
Dave, we're
welcome to do
we're not going to tow you. We're not going to tow you. Okay.
We're not doing that. Yeah, but you would be welcome in the Voyagers or to hop on one of the houseboat for a little bit as well.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah, I'll try to work that out. At least maybe hit the Ashland Ironton or Ironton Portsmouth leg or whatever.
But Dave, you're quite the video guy, right?
I do some some of that. Yeah.
Well, great. We have a couple of video. Well, what do we have? We
have 2 photographers and we'll have a handful of drones. I don't believe we have a videographer.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we'd love to have you. If you're interested, I mean, you can shoot any of us an email, or you can shoot an email directly to challenge@ohioriverway.org.
Okay.
I'll go to Mary, and she handles all those logistics.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll try to figure it out. I'll try to at least hit maybe a couple of days there.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Hey, Jim Bishop, how you doing, buddy? How's things going with Indiana Trails?
Things are going pretty well. Unfortunately, we did have to cancel our conference down in Louisville, so we're looking at a coalition that we're forming at this point, and we will look at a conference in the near future.
Okay, good enough. We'll keep
Sorry
us
to hear
up to
that.
date so we can help promote it for you there, buddy. Okay.
Oh, absolutely, please do.
Yeah.
And Jim, we've been having these conversations about making a bikeway, including with David at OKI, and we've talked with KIPTA and folks at OD and R in Ohio. All been very early, but we want to make sure to loop in Indiana Trails as well early to talk about what this could look like. So
Oh, absolutely.
Just conceptual level, region wide, bike trail, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to work very closely with you guys, obviously on the Indiana
Great.
piece, especially. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I
Great.
see that my friend Kelly Rudolph, who heads the American Canoe Association for the state of Ohio, is still on the call. And Kelly, I know we have a call at 11:30. Are you on still, Kelly? Hey,
Yeah, I'm here.
how
I
you
was just
doing?
listening.
All right. Well, Kelly, do you want to share briefly what you're working on in terms of the website?
So, Brewster and I and some other people are working on creating a website that is going to be the centralized hub for everything paddling within Ohio. All paddle information, including liveries, instructors, Facebook groups, waterways, conditions, anything that you can think of paddle related, we want to incorporate into one centralized location.
Great. And more to come on that project, correct?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
We're still in the very beginning processes, but it is coming together slowly but surely.
Great. Thank you. We'll see you in a little bit there. Hey,
All right,
Sasha,
thank you.
Montague, I'm sorry, I'm blowing your name here. I apologize, but can you introduce yourself and let us know what you do? Scared them away. I'm
I think
sorry.
they just hopped off.
All right. Well, let's ask Dave Rudder. What's up with OKI? Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Doing
Uh-oh.
okay. Sorry, I had to find my I've got a mute button on my cord thing for my
Well, it's good to see you're out in the river right
microphone.
now.
So, yeah.
Great.
If you recognize that was our through paddle to Louisville.
All right. Good deal. Dave was one of the people who did a 33-hour nonstop 132-mile paddle from Cincinnati to Louisville in 19, correct? Or 18, whatever it was. Unbelievable. Great job, buddy. Yeah.
OKI, we're plugging away transportation stuff wise on the water side of things. If soil and water things are of interest, Friday, May 2nd, the Regional Conservation Council, the OKI Regional Conservation Council, is having their annual meeting. We'll be in Boone County Extension, and it's $30. We got a morning full of speakers with various water and soil related topics, and lunch included with that. You don't have to hang around, but after that, the business meeting for the RCC. So in the RCC are the 8 conservation districts for the 8 counties in the Cincinnati region.
Cool. Well, thanks for what you do. Among other things, you're the watershed manager for the Ohio Regional Council, OKI Regional Council of Governments, correct? Great.
Yes.
And a great paddler, by the way. Did the entire Scioto River as well as the Ohio down to Cincinnati. So, okay.
Well, all the way to Louisville.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course. You got me on that one. All right, folks. Anything else you want to share? Julie Donna, is there anything you'd like to share? Or Dave Hudson from Julie's the sustainability director for Hamilton County. She's wonderful. Anything happening with you there, dear?
No updates to share. Yeah, I took a trip for pleasure all around Kentucky, but went back from Cincinnati down to Louisville and Lexington. I was planning to go to Frankfurt, but the flooding had caused a whole reroute. So that's been that was a very interesting. I went from seeing the flooding in Cincinnati and then went down to Louisville and right in my old stomping grounds, and that was astounding. Yeah, it was I used to live right downtown, and like my street right down the street was the water was intruding. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, and you have a big time job. I'm glad that Commissioner Driehaus was on the call today, and hopefully let her know that you were on as well. That probably wouldn't hurt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And Dave Hudson, we'll be seeing a lot of you there, buddy. I know you have to run, but thank you, David. We'll see you on the trip.
Okay. All right. You all take care.
All right, buddy. You take care.
All right. Everyone have a happy Easter.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
unless there's
Take
anything
care.
else anybody wants to chip in on, I think we can just have another cup of coffee and call it a day. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, folks. Thank you,
Bye,
Forrest.
Thank
everybody.
you all
Thank
so
you.
much.
See you guys.
All right.
Good job.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, you all. Bye bye.